US President Donald Trump is at war with Iran, but can he actually win against Iran? Stats don't think so, and unlike President Trump, statistics don't lie. If you don't believe me, just listen to this.
I will tell you, you're not going to have a war with me, and you're not going to have a third world war with me. That I can tell you.
America's resources are stretched thin, and Trump knows this. He has known this for a while. Otherwise, why would he have scaled back on sending missiles and defense systems to Ukraine? Trump strikes Iran and celebrates the fall of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He sets up a board of peace and dreams of a Nobel Peace Prize as missiles fly across West Asia. But beneath the swagger lies a brutal arithmetic. Aircraft carriers sail at 30 knots, not at the speed of ego. Missile stockpiles shrink with every interception. Factories cannot print patriots overnight. Today, we at India Today Global argue that Trump finally gets his war, but can he sustain this war? The war that Iran has prepared for ages. Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Trump assembled the largest US military buildup in the region since 2003. Two carrier strike groups crowd the Middle East. Then US and Israel struck Iran. Iran fired back across Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, and Jordan. Hundreds of projectiles filled the sky. Interceptors rise to meet them. Each launch drains inventory. Trump scaled back missiles and air defenses to Ukraine. He shifted the burden to Europe. He knew the cupboard was not endless. So does America have enough carriers and missiles for all of Trump's wars? Start with the carriers. America owns 11. That sounds imperial. That sounds unstoppable. But only about 3 usually sail at any given time. Maintenance, refueling, repairs, and crew fatigue lock the rest in port. The limit is not political will. The limit is steel and time. A Nimitz-class carrier moves at about 30 knots. It cannot teleport from Venezuela to Iran because Trump feels impatient. The USS Ford strike group zigzagged from the Mediterranean to the Caribbean and back again. 8 months at sea. Twice extended deployment. Sailors stretched thin. Even sword system repairs became a concern. This is not a video game. This is hardware under strain.
Whether they are seaports or airfields, it doesn't make any difference. So Iran has done really a spectacular job of simultaneously attacking all of these critical bases very early on. And finally, remember, this is probably going to go on for weeks or months unless someone sobers up in Washington. But the thing that will decide this outcome is logistics. We simply don't have enough missiles on hand, and we have a very long line of communications that takes us all the way back to the United States. We've lost most of the ports, virtually all of them in the region, that we would normally use to reload ships, reload missiles, reprovision our forces. So our elements at sea as well as on land right now are limited in how long they can maintain this war, contrary to what is being said in Washington right now.
Trump ordered the Fords to bolster a massive armada. He wanted pressure on Iran. He wanted spectacle. But spectacle costs. Keeping 2 carrier groups in one theater leaves another exposed. There were times in recent years with no US carrier group deployed in the Pacific. Right now, only the George Washington sits there. China watches, North Korea watches, the world sees that carriers cannot be everywhere at once. Scarcity becomes the true constraint on presidential ambition. Carriers project power. They generate sorties. They provide a floating airbase when regional allies refuse airspace. They intercept missiles. They signal credibility. But they also demand escorts, logistics, and constant upkeep. Trump's overlapping conflicts push these ships to the breaking point. Venezuela, 1 month. Iran becomes next. Weeks of maneuvering, extraordinary measures. The fleet whipsawed across oceans because politics demanded it. When Trump backed off a red line in January after threatening Iran over posted deaths, lack of available carriers likely shaped that decision. Hardware forced restraint. Now that he's amassed firepower in the region, another pressure emerges. The use it or lose it logic creeps in. If you pay the cost to assemble an armada, you feel compelled to use it. Experts consider strikes highly likely under such pressure. Diplomacy loses to sunk cost. Then comes the missile math. Offensive weapons grab headlines, but defensive interceptors decide endurance. During the June 2025 Iran-Israel conflict, US forces fired more than 150 THAAD interceptors. That represented roughly a quarter of the global inventory. In 11 days, Iran's assault consumed an estimated $800 million worth of interceptors. 15 to 20% of America's THAAD stockpile vanished. Production cannot surge overnight. Replenishment can take more than a year. Patriot missiles roll off lines at roughly 600 to 650 per year, with plans to increase. Patriot interceptors overall reach about 740 annually, maybe 1,100 by 2027. Iran possesses between 1,500 and 2,000 ballistic missiles, plus drones and rockets. In high-intensity war, multiple interceptors often chase a single incoming missile. Even a year's production can evaporate in weeks. To simply put it, it all boils down to numbers.
Well, whether or not someone in the Pentagon knew anything or thought it all through is a question I can't answer. But one thing is very clear. We don't have an end state in mind. There is no off-ramp. The conditions that we demanded, which were really Israel's conditions from Iran, could not be met. They never could. So it's very obvious that what we need today is a way to stability. Right at the moment, we can't get there. You know, by the way, I think it's very important for people to understand that this war began with the Israeli strike. And frankly, at the time, we were not yet ready to fight. But we decided that we would go in support of Israel anyway. So I don't think any of this is going to any sort of agreed strategic program or schedule.
And numbers expose vulnerability. America produces about 40,000 artillery shells per month, even after a 178% increase from pre-war levels. The Army hopes for 100,000 per month by mid-2026. Ukraine alone can burn that in weeks. Israel's air defenses devour interceptors during each Iranian strike. Each interceptor costs millions and months of lead time. Modern wars hinge on an ancient principle: the side with more ammunition often wins. The world's most technologically advanced military struggles to make enough bullets. That irony cuts deep. Trump administration fired Tomahawks at an extraordinary rate across West Asia and beyond. These TLAMs matter in early phases of major wars. War games show they disappear in the first week of a US-China conflict. Replenishing them demands increased procurement and production. Yet, production lines were optimized for peacetime. Private companies hesitate to expand without guaranteed long-term contracts. Boom-bust cycles scar the defense industry. The Pentagon faces a zero-sum competition for missile defense inventories between the Middle East and Europe. The same systems shield US bases from Iran and protect Ukraine from Russian cruise missiles. Trump paused new military aid to Ukraine in early 2025. He suspended shipments after clashes with President Zelensky. He rejected transferring long-range Tomahawks after Putin warned of escalation. He conditioned patriots on NATO payments. Europe stepped up and bought US gear. America first shifted burdens, but that shift also reflected scarcity.
Well, there can't be any use of ground troops simply because we don't have the ground troops to send. Our army is a fraction of what it was in the past. We simply can't project power into the region. If we try to project power into the region, ballistic missiles will destroy us, cruise missiles will destroy us. This is a new world we're in. We're seeing the end of an old era and the beginning of a new one. You know, if you just look at the UAE, for instance, it is being effectively taken out of the world economy by a few cheap drones. And our missile defenses have turned out to be completely inadequate to the task of protecting the Gulf states, where we've invested time and money to effectively protect them. Well, we can't do it, and that's being demonstrated. I think the world is changing dramatically right now.
If America had endless interceptors, would Trump have squeezed Ukraine so hard? If the cupboard overflowed, would he have diverted anti-drone weapons from Kyiv to the Middle East? Zelensky disclosed such diversions. That admission revealed a zero-sum reality. One theater gains, another loses. America cannot flood every front at once. Iran retaliated with an unprecedented wave of strikes across the Middle East or West Asia. Blasts hit near Bahrain, Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait, Jordan. Air defense systems intercepted many projectiles, but not all. Oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz faced disruption. Roughly one-fifth of the world's oil transits that choke point. Even limited disruption can spike global energy markets. War does not stay neat. Trump declared that bombing would continue uninterrupted throughout the week or as long as necessary. Bold words. But how long is necessary? 15 days to reach a deal, he said. Critics whisper that 15 days may also reflect how long America can sustain the current tempo without severe strain. That speculation stings because it sounds plausible. Operation Epic Fury targeted Iranian leadership and military sites. Khamenei died. Iran formed a provisional leadership council. Regime change talk filled the air. Yet, it does not guarantee political stability. Once missiles fly, you own what follows. America's defense industrial base reflects decades of faith in short, decisive wars. Precision replaced mass. Smart bombs replaced stockpiles. Factories that once churned out shells closed. Supply chains for explosives and propellants atrophied. Black powder became a bottleneck. Skilled workers aged out. The cult of technology overshadowed the unglamorous need for quantity. Quantity has a quality of its own. Trump's America First doctrine demands ally burden sharing. NATO members pledged higher defense spending. Europe buys patriots. Sweden and the Netherlands fund US weapons for Ukraine. Trump questions Article 5's scope. He prioritizes domestic missile defense under the Golden Dome initiative. He shifts focus inward while striking outward. It is not isolationism. It is selective engagement with a heavy dose of leverage. Critics call it new imperial, supporters call it accountability, but neither label changes on physics or production rates. Carriers need maintenance, interceptors need factories, and tomahawks need assembly lines. Production is measured in years, not in tweets. Congress approved billions to expand shell production. The Army invests hundreds of millions to boost HIMARS output, yet surge capacity does not materialize overnight. Iran is not Venezuela. Iran is a large, heavily armed state with extensive missile forces and regional proxy networks. Officials admit it will not resemble a short surgical operation. Experts have warned it will not be as clean as the 12-day war. Escalation can spiral. Proxy attacks can widen the battlefield. Interceptor inventories can become the binding constraint. Trump frames reduction in Ukraine aid as peace leverage. He frames Iran strikes as nuclear denial and terror deterrence. He frames America First as strategic clarity, but clarity does not refill magazines. Analysts warn that interceptors are consumed faster than they are replaced. Missile defense systems deplete quickly under sustained attack. Even a quarter of global THAAD inventory can vanish in less than 2 weeks. America remains powerful. It can surge conventional munitions from around the world. It stores weapons in theater. It commands unmatched naval logistics. Naval power moves massive combat capability quickly and cost-effectively. But versatility does not equal infinity. Scarcity of carriers limits options. Scarcity of interceptors limits endurance. History teaches that technologically advanced militaries can lose wars of attrition. German engineering superiority did not match Allied production in World War II. The Soviet Union's ability to churn out T-34 tanks mattered. Quantity overwhelmed quality. America now confronts a similar lesson. Technology dazzles, production decides. Trump stands at the center of this arithmetic. He escalates in Iran, he scales back in Ukraine, he pressures NATO, he shifts resources, he plays global chess with finite pieces. He bets that shock and awe can compel outcomes before stockpiles dry up. He bets that Iran will fold before interceptors run thin. Iran, however, prepared for years. It amassed 1,500 to 2,000 ballistic missiles. It built drone networks. It cultivated proxies. It understands attrition. It knows that even the most advanced military cannot defy math forever. It fires salvos to test defenses. It counts launches. It watches for fatigue. America faces a dangerous paradox. The presence of two carrier groups signals commitment to a long haul. Nuclear-powered ships can stay at sea for years with resupply and maintenance. That image projects endurance. Yet, interceptor inventories whisper limits. Patriot, THAAD, Arrow. Each launch reduces future flexibility. Each day of sustained exchange narrows options. Trump says peace through strength. Strength requires stockpiles. Strength requires factories. Strength requires disciplined strategy that matches resources to objectives. America First promises focus on domestic priorities. Yet the world sees simultaneous crises. Iran, Ukraine, the Pacific, the Middle East, West Asia. Every theater demands attention. Every theater demands munitions. Does the US have enough aircraft carriers for all of Trump's wars? 11 on paper, 3 at sea, 1 in the Pacific, 2 in the Middle East. Maintenance cycles relentless, crews stretched. Europe could deny port access for refueling in extreme scenarios. Mobility meets geography, steel meets politics. Does the US have enough missiles to sustain this war? Production figures suggest strain. 600 to 650 Patriot PAC-3 MSE missiles per year, around 740 Patriot interceptors annually, maybe 1,100 by 2027, 40,000 artillery shells per month, target of 100,000 by mid-2026, more than 150 THAAD interceptors fired in one 12-day conflict, 15 to 20% of stockpile gone in 11 days. Iran's arsenal counts in the thousands. Trump knows the numbers. He scaled back direct shipments to Ukraine. He redirected focus. He demanded European payment. He paused aid to pressure negotiations. These moves reflect ideology, but they also reflect arithmetic. Resources stretched thin, force choices. America's military remains formidable. It can devastate targets. It can intercept hundreds of missiles. It can project power across oceans, but it cannot conjure infinite carriers or infinite interceptors. Wars of days differ from wars of months. Initial salvos differ from sustained campaigns. Trump finally gets the war he hinted at for years. He eliminates Iran's supreme leader. He orders uninterrupted bombing. He dares Tehran to respond. Iran answers with salvos. West Asia trembles. Oil routes strain. Allies brace. Factories hum, but not fast enough. This is the cold reality behind the bluster. The world's most advanced military confronts the ancient law of attrition. Quantity matters, production matters, logistics matter. Carriers sail at 30 knots, not at the speed of presidential ambition. Interceptors roll off lines at peacetime rates, not at the pace of regional conflagration. Does the United States have enough aircraft carriers for all of Trump's wars? Does it have enough missiles to sustain this one? Or does America First collide with industrial limits and expose that even a superpower cannot fight everywhere forever at once? The answer to that might lie at the end of this current war. Thank you for watching Statecraft.